What do you see out of Texas A&M and Max Johnson, and how different are they any different than what they were earlier in the year? What do you see out of them?
No, I think they're the same. Honestly, I didn't even realize. I mean, I know the other quarterback got hurt, but I didn't realize how many snaps Johnson has played in his career. I mean, this kid is a veteran. He's extremely poised. I mean, they're running their offense, and some of the plays that he's made, under duress, just kind of speaks to his confidence and the confidence they have in him as a quarterback. So I don't think they really missed a beat. I think they've obviously tried to play to his strengths. He's a lefty, but at the end of the day, I think they're very similar.
Rob, then Vince.
Coach, when we were asking all preseason, where's the pass rush going to come from? Where's the pass rush going to come from? I know you were confident, but did you think it would be, what it is, producing at this level?
Yeah, obviously every year, you try to, figure out where you can be better at, and obviously that was an area we knew we needed to improve on. And yeah, I mean, we always feel confident that, the things that we work on, we're going to see some returns on it. And, pass rush isn't any different, pass coverage isn't any different. Those guys have really worked extremely hard, on their crafts, and you guys are obviously seeing the fruits of their labor.
Obviously, tackling is a big part of success on offense for A&M, but what do they do scheme-wise with Coach Petrino that may present some challenges for you guys?
Yeah, I think all the gap schemes that these guys run, all the pin and pull plays, they're a physical group. They want to run the ball downhill. They got a pretty healthy amount of running backs that are interchangeable that they'll bring in there. And you don't see a lot of two-back run games from a lot of people, and those guys have the ability to get into some two-back situations and try to out-gap you, so to speak, with a true fullback, if you will. So it's a tough scheme to get ready for, particularly in this day and age in football, because you don't see a lot of that. So we know we're gonna have our hands full, and we'll need every single practice to be able to get ready for it.
Casey, Austin, then Ben.
Last week, Ariana Carter mentioned that he had been in the film room a lot more recently. The work ethic that he has to just always try and better himself. How have you seen that play out in his growth?
Well, it's tremendous, because he is that kid. He's a kid who wanted to be great, all the way back to the recruiting process. And, every kid thinks they'll just show up and, take over with their athleticism. But the reality of it is, at this level, it's the small margins that you're going to win in, and that's obviously the film study, that's taking care of your body, that's doing all those little things. And he's really committed to that lifestyle at this point. So we're very pleased with where he is. And we know that he's really, if I'm being honest, just scratching the surface on how good he can truly be.
How much do you think being able to rotate more this year? I mean, even with a guy like Jordan Collins who got in there, started 2 weeks ago, and almost got the safety. Obviously we rotate a lot of corner and linebacker and the defensive line. How much do you think that's helped the overall defense? And then specifically on the DBs, what do you feel like Kamal's doing well right now, and then Gabe feels like he's playing really well?
Yeah, I think anytime you can rotate guys, it's great for the long term. We're starting to come down the back stretch of the season, and obviously nobody's as healthy as they were, at the beginning of the season. So, the more guys you can play and take some of those licks off of them, the better. And then I think the second component of it is just great for morale. Guys work extremely hard, and you only get so many opportunities. So any chance you get to get those guys in the game to let them, feel the energy and feel a part of it is always a benefit for us. So that's been tremendous. As far as Gabe goes and Kamal, I think both of those guys are playing well. They're confident in what they're doing. I think just like anything, you got to have thick skin to be able to play corner. It's very similar to quarterback. Everybody sees you. A lot of times they don't see, the really good things that they do all game, but they'll always recognize the bad play. So Gabe's been solid all year. He's been physical when he needed to be, in terms of tackling. And I think Kamal's starting to come along. He's obviously has really good ball skills. And as he continues to, work through his technique, which he does, I think the sky's the limit for both of those guys.
Tim, speaking of those DBs, just how difficult of a challenge is it this weekend for them with some of the playmakers that A&M has out in space, and just what have you seen from that group there?
Yeah, I mean, A&M, again, from the running backs to, the skill guys on the edges, they've got really good, players that have shown up on tape, against everybody week in and week out. Those guys do a really good job of, A, with their coaches, putting them in situations for them to be successful, and B, when the ball's in those guys' hands, we got to do a great job of tackling. So it's going to be a tremendous matchup. I mean, it really is. I feel really good about our back end and our secondary and the direction that we're headed. And just like every, SEC opponent will see, these guys are no different. They have a tremendous amount of skill over there, and we have to play at a high level to be able to be successful.
John and Brent.
Coach in the back, as a fellow defensive back, Eric Berry's getting honored this weekend. Just what did you see when he was playing that made him so special, and what creates such a special defensive back like him that you think?
Yeah, I mean, from afar, you know, as I've had a chance to watch him, you know, watch him then, just his passion, you know, the energy that he played with, you know, I don't know, can you teach instincts? I don't know, but his instincts were off the board, off the charts, and he just played so fast, and you could just feel the energy and the passion when he made plays. You know, all the players that have come back and have talked about him, just talks about his leadership skills as well, you know, particularly on the field. So it's a tremendous honor, obviously, for him. And, you know, we talk about him a lot in the recruiting process. You know, he set the bench, you know, or the standard of what, you know, a defensive back looks like, you know, as a ball, you know, so we're trying to recruit those type of guys. But he was definitely a pleasure to watch, and obviously it's a great to have him on our sideline, hopefully this weekend.
Last two, Brent and Patrick.
Yeah, Tim, I know you're multiple all the time, but when you have a pass rush, whether it's getting home or just pressuring the quarterback, how much more freedom does that give you as a play caller? How much does that change the variety of things you can do front to back with your defense?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's huge, you know, because obviously the more guys that you send, you know, the more pressure you put on the back end. And, you know, anytime you get home before, you know, your coverage variety, you know, starts to expand, and, you know, it gives guys a chance to, you know, not just always be in one-on-one situations. So, you know, our front's done a really good job of obviously getting to the quarterback, you know, but I would tell guys, like I said last year, I think our secondary's done a really good job of buying some time to get those guys a chance. So it always goes hand in hand, but definitely when you get home before, it definitely takes some of the pressure off the back end and the back seven in general.
Coach, at linebacker, you guys obviously lost Keenan early, kind of force feed those young guys a little bit. Has it changed much with what you guys do with Aaron in terms of his responsibilities, both during the game and during the week too, and how he sort of responded to kind of?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I think the more they play, obviously, the better they'll get, the more comfortable they'll get. You know, you always want to play the guys' strengths, you know, put them in the best possible situations to be successful, but there is no substitution for playing. I mean, it really isn't. I looked out there one time, I saw T-Lander and AC out there at the same time. It's just what it is, man. You know, two true freshmen, you know, playing in big football games, but that's what they signed up for. You know, that's why we recruited them. So, you know, as they continue to grow, we'll continue to give them more, but I wouldn't tell you we cut our playbook in half by any stretch. You know, those guys have to learn it and they have to execute it, and so far they've been really up for the task.
Thank you, Coach.
Joey, A&M has been, I guess, leading, I think, the country in tackles for loss. What makes them so disruptive, effective up front?
Yeah, they're really, really talented up front. They got a good group of guys that have been playing together for a while. And then what they do on defense, they go from 3 down to 4 down, pressure, drop 8. So they change the picture up on your front, on your ID calls. They change it from snap to snap. And then they got talented players up front that they turn loose and go after the football. So they present a unique challenge this week.
From the beginning of the season till now, what's the biggest change that you've seen in Joe Milton that's really helped be beneficial inside the offense?
Yeah, he's been a great calming force for us as we go through games. He's always real right in the middle, doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low, and he's been a great job as we've had to get a lot of people out of being that kind of calming center force that kept us going throughout the whole game.
Ben?
Joey, obviously you expect Cooper to have a big impact in his return, but when you went back and watched the film, just how big of an impact was his return for your offensive line?
Yeah, it was huge. They were another team that liked to bring a ton of pressure. They changed the front up a bunch, gave us some unscouted looks, and Coop did a great job getting us in the right call, getting us all on the same page, and allowing us to keep playing fast while we were changing calls and doing all that. And then just having him in there, I think, fresh, like physically what he did inside was really impressive. So it was really good to have him back.
Rob?
Coach, almost halfway through the season, the open day, and I'm sure you went back and looked at everything last week. How would you evaluate Joe, what he's done well, what he needs to do better for you guys in the second half of the season?
Yeah, he's done a really good job of managing the game. Hasn't put the ball in a ton of precarious situations. We had a couple the last week, which was really the first time. But he's done a really good job of like running the offense, of not just trying to go out there and be an athlete with a big arm, but running the offense at a really high level. And what we've asked him to do, he's done really well. So it's been good to watch him more from just a talented player to a true quarterback.
Brent?
I know Joe was a little banged up and has been a little bit banged up here and there. Where's the balance for you this back half of the season in terms of him using his legs. We saw that in the UTSA game. How do you balance week to week, kind of how much you use his legs and don't use his legs?
Well, that's the thing. When a guy has the ability to do that, you can't tell him not to. It's just got to be from us on the staff side. How much are you going to truly design for him? And you just got to use the balance of when something presents itself, like we have to go play and take advantage of it without being foolish about we're just going to beat him into a brick wall for 4 quarters. But the way he plays, he's going to use his legs on his own too. And you know that, and that's what he does at a really high level. You saw against UTSA, that wasn't a design quarterback run. That was him making a read and going and getting it. So you can't say like, hey man, I need you not to pull it, because if it presents itself, like he's going to pull it. So that it's just us on the front end of like how much do we want to intentionally run this guy.
Vince, then John.
Where's Nathan Laycock in his development, and is he working his way closer to try to be able to maybe help you guys?
Yeah, he has a unique skill set of size and speed that as he's been working back, he actually had a really good day at practice today too, which was fun to watch. It's just been learning our system and going through it, and I think a lot of times with freshmen, people forget, like, man, they're young, they're freshmen, like some people aren't ready in year run. He's working to get himself ready because we still got a long run on the back end of this season. So, you know, hats off to him for not saying, like, it's not my year. You know, he is still working. He's trying to get himself on the field. He just hadn't broken through that yet, but he's doing a really good job of pushing to get there.
John, then Ben.
When you have guys like Chaz and Caleb expected to step up in a bigger role than they have been at any point in their careers, do you ever spend any more time with those kind of guys before a week like this just to help them manage the emotions of it?
Yeah, I think, like, as coaches, you got to kind of walk the line of, yes, you talk them through it, what to expect. You know, it's different being a starter and a guy that's coming in off the bench, but it's also human nature sometimes. Like, if they feel you talking too much and like, hey man, no big deal, hey, just like always, like, they kind of start to feel like, man, maybe this is a big deal and he's trying to calm me down. So it's really like both those guys have a good temperament. The moment's not going to be too big for them. They've played in big situations. So yeah, it's more like addressing them of what the preparation looks like for a guy that is a full-time starter now in Brew's absence, and someone that's just expected to come in and play 15 to 20% of the snaps.
And how does that preparation change?
I think it's just overall like what it's going to take to physically be locked in for 60 minutes of football and not come in and spell a guy and then come out when he's ready to come back in. Like, you have to be locked in for every different unscouted look you get. Are they going to man the zone? Is it pressure? Are they playing me soft? Filing routes away like, hey, last time he jumped this, so this is how I'm going to set it up next time. And not just saying like, hey, I'm going to come in and get these couple plays and then I'll be right back out.
Joey, how much are the tight ends capable of stepping up and taking pressure off of those younger receivers and also filling some of the production loss from Brew?
Yeah, quite a bit. You know, both of them have different skill sets. Like Callie and Jacob are different players, but they're both highly intelligent. We can move them around, put them in different spots, which we are, and allowing them to try to get some matchups that are favorable for them. As now, when you lose a guy like Brew, who was, you know, your seasoned guy, it's like, all right, how do we make this? You don't just throw one person in and just expect all the production to stay the same. It's like, how do we make this right? What do we have to do? What do we have to scheme? How do we have to formation things to get guys in a position to use their skill set? Because not everyone has the same one.
Vince.
What about Webb and Nimrod? What have you seen from them now that there's clearly an opportunity for them to be on the field more?
Yeah, one of the biggest testaments I can give to both those guys is it's been business as usual. They've been, even when they were in a backup role, they've been the guys that they come up and they get extra film every day. You see them up there, they're grabbing the assistant coaches like, hey, can I get extra stuff? And it's been the same. So they haven't tried to make like a wholesale change or try to be something they're not. They're both just going in there and this is how I conduct my business, and they have confidence in their skill set and their preparation. We expect them to play well.
Thank you, Coach.